Hi, my name is Nairi and I'm running an adoption support channel, and today I want to talk to you about a strong reaction that I've had recently when my son wasn't very well with COVID. And so we've had two people in the house with COVID, my younger son and my husband, and both have been very poorly. So my younger son is the only one who hasn't had vaccinations. He wasn't offered them, so there was no choice on that matter. And he had a really high temperature, so much so that there were a couple of times when I really felt I needed to ring an ambulance. I mean, he's 11, so he's not a young child. And I want to tell you how it felt and how wonderful it was, in a way, how things have changed between me and my son a little bit. So for a while, there's been lots of difficulties in the home, and I'm sure there will continue to be because of my son being very volatile, finding life difficult to cope with in general. And I know that's not his fault, but sometimes it can be very difficult, very challenging to deal with his behaviour. But obviously during the time that he had COVID, he was not challenging, he was very ill. And just being with him really when this temperature was raging, being with him when he was being sick all the time, and I took it upon myself to be that person, and just laying there next to him and just looking at his little body. I mean, as an 11-year-old, he's still very tiny, really. Looking at how vulnerable he was and how reliant he was on me. And it was a nice feeling to know that I could be there for him. It wasn't a nice feeling to know that he was so ill, but it was nice to be that person there for him, to see him through. And also another thing that we've been doing recently is every time he goes to bed at night, I'll go in with him for 10-15 minutes and give him a little cuddle, and he'll chat about anything and everything really, rather than settle to sleep. But he loves that time. And so being there for him when he was ill was that physical closeness, something that I've explained in lots of my videos about how important physical closeness is for building attachment. And we still need to do that with our boys who are 11 and 12. They still very much look for us to be around. And I found that there was a special additional bond that happened during that time when he wasn't very well. I feel like things have moved on quite a lot, and almost him realising that no matter what happens to him, and this was obviously for him really frightening, really difficult, that one of us, in this case me, would always be there for him, always be there for him. And as we came out of the more difficult stage when he was really poorly, the temperature started subsiding, but he needed to be in his room still. I was waiting on him and bringing him meals and stuff. And again, it's a special bond kind of being there when I was bringing the food in for him, and I was thinking about how I was going to serve the food for him because he wasn't well. And so I was putting little pots on his plate, kind of making it special for him, and not giving him necessarily all the meals he liked, but giving it him in a way that was presented really nicely. And he would just give me that look and get excited about receiving that food in, which told me he appreciated me and told me that he was really happy to see me. And then I'd stand around in the room and chat to him for a little while. And he was allowed to go on his screens a lot because obviously he wasn't well. And I think almost that relaxed time of being at home, not worrying about school, having me to himself, even though he was in a room on his own, it just built that attachment for us really strongly during that week. And I've noticed a difference in him. So he's going back to school today, and I'm going to make sure that I'm around when he gets home. We are anyway, but make myself physically around. And again, I've done that this morning before he's gone off to school, and something has shifted in the relationship. He's always been, their boys are strange. They rely on my husband a lot for the everyday practical things, but they always look out for me. They always want to know where I am, what I'm doing, and I think probably I can spot the low mood in them quicker, and so I'll be the one to ask if they've had a good day at school. And if I get the quick yeah fine, and I know it's not, then I'll be the one to then ask them. So I think it's just another indication. I know we've been doing a practical series around attachment, so check out my channel. There's about 8 videos on there, practical attachment. There's also an attachment and bonding playlist which has more variety on it. But I think it's another indication to me that actual physical closeness, which sounds obvious, is so important in attachment, but it's obvious with a baby because you have to be close. I think it's quite obvious with a toddler and almost with a preschool, but I think as children get older it's not as obvious. They go off and do a lot of stuff on their own and you assume that they're okay, and you know, maybe they are. But I think when it comes to insecure attachment, which both our boys definitely do have, that physical closeness where I'm checking in with them or they're checking in with me is crucial to their development, and it still very much is for our boys. So whilst it's a sad story about COVID, it's ended up turning into something I think quite positive for us as a family. And I feel that there were a couple of times when I challenged him during that period of time when he was telling me he was okay about stuff, especially if he was getting agitated and angry, and he more quickly volunteered the information in the end that he wasn't doing as good, and I persisted with that, and I do that anyway, but I think perhaps I've managed to break through a little bit more. So I hope that's helpful for you as a story to think about physical closeness, physical proximity in relation to attachment. Attachment is such a big subject, isn't it, in adoption? And I hope if you've enjoyed that, you'll consider subscribing to Adoption with Nairi, and I'll see you on another video. Thank you.